Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Viewers, comments and questions live. Dan here.
Nick here, hello. Look at that, you can see your face in it.
You can see your face in it.
It's like a room of mirrors guitar. Hello everyone, welcome to viewer comments and questions. We'll start off first by thanking BV for being with us.
Yes, thank you, BV.
And being among the chat and letting me know that we've got 24 super chats and we might turn them off in a very few moments.
Moments a few.
Let us know you can hear and see us okay. I've had to pull the studio to bits at least twice since we last saw you. So hopefully all the requisite plugs went into the necessary receptacles.
Indeed. Indeed.
Quite know why that was so complicated, but anyway.
Some interesting news. Steve Vai, Joe Satriani and Eric Johnson are doing G3 again.
Oh, right.
Which is going to be awesome.
Nice. Zimmer frames included?
That's using those as slides.
Sorry, it's unnecessarily catty. What a great thing.
It'd be amazing.
What a great thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen, I don't know, I haven't seen Satch for a long time, but certainly Mr. Vai and Mr. Johnson are both playing exceptionally.
Yeah, totally.
Still.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm being very ageist tonight. It's not very nice, is it? What?
I keep, it being September coming up to Christmas, I keep getting asked to do Santa gigs.
Yes, it was Dan's birthday on Friday.
Saturday.
Saturday. Dan's birthday on Saturday. So let's wish Dan a happy 61st birthday.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Boom, boom. Yes, that was a lovely day.
Oh, how we laughed.
So we went to some people that follow us on the socials. We went down to London to see Back to the Future, the musical. And it was awesome. It was hilarious. But the guitar player who I was watching it going, man, this guitar player is amazing. And it's such a different set of rules to work within. Right?
In a theatre show.
In the theatre show.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was astounded. And I came home the night and said, yeah, it was great. I said, whoever was playing guitar in this was amazing. And a gentleman called Duncan Floyd, who is like, there's a bunch of people that commented and goes, that's Doug Floyd, who was someone who follows us on Facebook. And he's like, oh, that was me. I'm like, oh, man, that's amazing. So
nice.
In conversations with Doug now.
So can we go and see Doug and find out how it works?
It's exactly what we should do.
That's pretty groovy.
Yeah. It's a discipline that I have absolutely no clue about. But what is really interesting...
You know what I'm going to ask, don't you?
What's that?
What am I going to ask? What's the one question I want to know about Doug and the Back to the Future show?
Does he get to ride the DeLorean?
No.
Can he gun it to 88?
More boring than that. Does he use a Kemper?
Oh, I mean, probably. But what was really interesting and what my ears were jumped up at is there is a moment when he's doing the Marty McFly solo when everything sort of goes wrong and there's this whole bunch of feedback.
Oh.
And I was going, how does he get that?
If he's
using that stuff. So
could be sampled.
That alone, it could be, but that alone was really interesting. But like all the musicians are in this little cramped thing under the stage, and there's a whole orchestra under there. And I'd just be really fascinated to find out what that's like as a gig. Yeah. So yeah, we're in conversations at the moment. Our people are talking to his people.
Strictly is what I would like to do.
Okay.
For a show, because that is an
Strictly Ballroom.
Absolutely brilliant
Story about a man with great big pants.
Because it's back on. It's my second favourite show on TV after Gone Fishing.
Oh, Strictly Dancing here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, in Australia it was Strictly Ballroom.
Yeah, that was the film, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, but there also, it was called the same thing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, they're an absolutely ripping band. Amazing band.
Yeah, right.
And I might be Jamie Mosley, maybe who plays guitar in that. Anyway, whatever. Blah blah blah. BV, thank you so much for being with us. I have turned the super chats off, so if you've super chatted to this point, we will answer you. There shall be no more. No more.
Lovely.
Good.
Everyone's saying happy birthday. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, it was had a really lovely day. Hadn't been to London with the family for a long time, and my daughter's off to uni this coming Friday, and so it was just really nice to have a lovely day with the fam before she heads off as well.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Most people I know just like jumping up and down for joy when their kids leave home, but
we
that's
like
not,
her.
not your
No, she's great.
not your experience, is it?
No, she's really lovely.
Odd for me, but...
It was funny. We bypassed a lot of. We were at a friend's house on the weekend, and they've got a teenager going through teenage things.
Yeah.
And it was happening in the room.
Yeah.
And it was like, this isn't fun. And we never really had that with Liv. She's been so solid. So anyway, she's only going up to Cardiff.
Congrats, Liv. Congrats, and enjoy your uni years.
Yeah.
I have to say they were the second best years of my life.
Really? But now are the best years of your life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without any doubt.
Ah.
Yeah. Without any doubt.
That's great, mate.
Good. Sorry, you were about to say... I totally interrupted you.
No. I'm also going to say, for anyone that tried to get tickets to our experience days, we are constantly astounded by the demand of people who want to come and hang out with us. It's amazing. So the first half of next year sold out really quick. More tickets will go on sale, and we are thinking about other ways to do it as well. Other ways to do more things with people.
Yeah. Well, experience days will remain as they are because they are particularly special.
They are.
Day for all of us. Those of you who've been on one will know that. But we realise that 6 people at a time every month is hardly very many people at all. Therefore, we'll try and find another way to bring the love. Because one thing we have discovered about experience days is when you bring a bunch of people into this room and you play them loud guitar in a way that they might not have ever heard before, their lives change.
They really do.
And mine and Dan's life changes as a reflection of that. And it is a very, as a brief, serious comment on the state of social media, the thing that they're calling AI, which is just good programming, and all of that. The more I hear about all of that, the more I see the capabilities of that technology, the more I just want to turn it off and get in a room with humans and go, this is a loud electric guitar.
Yeah.
This is real. This is not augmented.
Yeah.
This isn't virtual. This is humans, human interaction over something analog, and it is worth something. And I feel very passionate. We feel very passionate about doing more of it because it means something.
We had a very special experience, actually. Mick and I went up to Manchester last week.
That's why we weren't here.
That's why we weren't here.
We had a splendid meal
We
in
had-
a wonderful eatery, didn't we, Dan? With non-combative staff. Excellent presentation.
Oh yes, and the food, the quality of the food was beyond reproach.
It was an alternative. See, this is what we like. It was an alternative narrative on what we've come to accept as food temperature.
It was nouveau cuisine. Oh boy!
Anyway,
oh boy!
It was good.
It was good.
It was good.
Well,
The following day was
unforgettable day.
Totally.
Spent with a glorious human by the name of Mr. Johnny Marr. More about that later. But a day that we'll never forget. It was so lovely.
Properly crazy. The show will be out in a couple of weeks at the end of September, I think. And it was actually, Dan, let's do this now. I've got something for you.
For me?
Yeah. Seeing as it's your birthday yesterday. The
No!
The story is...
Are you kidding me?
No, well, hang on. There is a bit of a story. The story is, we bought us a guitar for your birthday, but there you go. There's more to it. Check out what it is. Yeah, I'll take that. There's more to it.
Are you serious? Oh no! Oh my!
Surprise!
God.
Surprise!
Oh my god!
Hang on. There's don't get too excited, because there's more to it. Anyway, show the people.
Oh my god!
Show the people. Yeah, I need this.
Look at this. So.
Dan was so taken with the Johnny Marr Jaguar. It was like, Dan gets excited about a scrunched up piece of paper with poo on it. But this was a level...
Do I really get to keep this?
Well, it's ours, but... Well, no, it can be yours. I swapped our Jag for it. I traded our Jag for it.
Have you had a play?
Yeah.
That neck is amazing.
Yeah, it wants a bit of setting up and some strings, and it's got a very interesting resonant at the moment, which we need to...
That resonant, you mean?
Yeah. Which we need to sort out. But we had a Jaguar, which Dan and I don't play very much, and he was playing a few of Johnny's when we were there in Manchester. In Stockport. And he really connected, so I thought, right, I'm going to... In time, we'll get one. Short story. I was checking all the bit links for the show. Anderton's had a used one, and I thought, oh wow, I'll just see how much they are on Reverb. Up comes Riffer's Guitars in Brixham in Devon. And a really lovely guy, went down and met a really lovely guy called Charlie, and we did a deal and exchanged the guitars. I'm going to show you a picture of Charlie now, and we'll mention Charlie a bit more on the show as time goes on. But Riffer's Guitars, if you want to check them out on Reverb.
Oh, dude!
In Brixham in Devon. That's why I went to Brixham yesterday.
Oh, mate!
There's Charlie.
Oh, this is amazing.
So happy birthday, mate. And I hope you don't mind that we traded our Jag for it.
I really don't mind.
Cool colour too, isn't it?
Oh, far out.
You'll see on
Oh, this is amazing. So, right, that neck is the closest to a vintage feeling guitar on a new guitar that I've, like, as soon as I picked up Johnny's, it was like, there's something really special they've done with the necks. It just feels like a...
Yeah, well, it's based off his 65, the neck, apparently. Anyway, there's much more of this story in the video that will come out in a couple of weeks. Johnny tells the story of the Jag, and it's really great. So I hope you bond with this one. And he was sat there playing it in Johnny's studio. It was like, okay, he's gone. We found one he likes.
Oh, mate, this is amazing.
Yeah, a few dings and stuff. And it's obviously been stored because it smells a bit, but...
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, of course.
I really appreciate that, mate. Thank you, man.
No worries, man.
That's amazing.
A big thanks to
Far
Charlie.
out.
I'll say it once more. Riffer's Guitars, and when we do more on the guitar, we'll mention Charlie again. Such a lovely guy. Super interesting place there in Brixham. His dad owns a cafe, amazing cafe. Anyway, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, wow.
Groovy.
Okay, well, I'm off. Great to see you all. Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
That just feels beautiful.
It's got beefy slinkies on it. Bless him. He restrung it up, and yeah, I played it a bit. It's nice. It's got good resonance to it, I think. Good basic resonance.
Oh, mate. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. The colour is just gorgeous.
I don't. It's called.
Candy apple orange. Or
maybe
something.
metallic KO or something.
Right.
Something KO, and it's supposed to be. I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's a really cool colour though. We know you like red hues on guitars. Right.
Oh, man.
On with the super chats. Before we do, just going to plug the various that pedal show drinkware, because we all drink tea and coffee and water. And if you want to get in for the festive season, now is the time to start buying things. So all of these things, travel cups, normal cups, and a load of other stuff at that pedal show store. Please buy stuff. Otherwise, Dan's Jaguar collection is going to dry up really soon.
Oh, I'm a bit speechless, to be honest.
Good on you, mate. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, that's just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, wow.
Groovy.
Wow.
Right, let's get on with Super Chai then. So, oh no, not that. I don't want that. What I want is this. See all. Right. First in this week is Iron Wolf 1776. Iron Wolf 1776 says, "Hello, you fine young gentlemen. Have either of you tried any of the small desktop practice amps? I just purchased the Nux, or NUX, Mighty Space for use in my office, and it's absolutely killer with great features."
Nice. So the only amp that I've got is the Yamaha THR10. I've got two of those, and I think they're fantastic. At that plug and play thing, playing really quiet, but a big sound, it's really great. I'm actually using the Waza Air more than anything at the moment because I'm practicing at like 6 o'clock in the morning, so I need to be silent. So the Waza Airs are really good for that, and also you can Bluetooth them to your phone, but you can do all that stuff with the Yamaha.
Be interesting to know how much it's changed, because it's been out well over 10 years now.
Yeah.
And stuff like the Nux and all the other stuff is much newer. So
Yeah.
I wonder I wonder what the technology enables in the newer products.
I'd be interested in having a look as well. I saw one where it has a guitar teaching component to it as well. So you play it a song and it teaches you the chords.
Right.
It's like some of the tech is just amazing. So yeah.
Well, hopefully when AI finds its feet, you won't have to play at all. You can just sit there and it will play. It will pull up a hologram of you and play for you.
Brilliant.
Just cut out the middleman altogether.
I love it. Paulie's Guitars and Gear says those Nux things are actually awesome. They don't look posh like the Yami, but sound better in his opinion. I think that's one thing about the Yamaha little practice amps is they look fantastic.
Who bought one because you said it was good, Dan?
Johnny Marr.
We got there and there was one in his little kitchen area there in the studio. And he points to it and goes, "I bought this because of you."
Oh man, life is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am genuinely interested in having a look at the new technology. Practice is something that I am continually evolving with, and my relationship with how to practice is continually evolving. So I'm up for having a look at that new tech. Like things like the Trio, the Digitech Trio is amazing. I'd like to see what that has developed into.
Yeah, I don't know if they're still doing it after Digitech was reborn, but maybe there's I mean, when I was on Guitar magazines, you'd see all that stuff, but I am completely out of the loop with what's new in that world now. So it's super. The tech is just amazing.
It is amazing.
As long as it encourages you to play something relatively musical and connect with it rather than get lost in the option paralysis, then it's got to be a good thing.
Oh man, I'm completely made up because I was looking for the only ones that I could think I could possibly stretch to was the white one, but having the
That's a 2012 one as well, 2012, 2013, so it's an early one. Not that necessarily makes any difference. But it's Nitro. It was completely serendipitous. I thought we'd just acquire one at some point, and then a bunch of things just fell into place where you go, yes. And again, thanks to Charlie for making it happen.
Is that why you went down yesterday and you ended up driving 6.5 hours back? Oh, mate.
Yeah. Well, I thought we'd get in a nice dog walk, but Devon had a month's worth of rain in a day yesterday, and there was loads of flooding. And anyway, blah, blah, blah. Good, right, that's one down. Whit Anderson. Hello, Whit.
Hello, woo.
He says, great interview with Mike Venart. I was expecting a complicated board. It was all fuzz, fingers and cooking amps and a delay. I loved it. Congratulations on the movement. Dan, Old Man Victories. Fibre alternative. Much love from Woo.
I tell you what, that is... We'll take experience days on the road, and we'll take Mike with us.
Yeah.
And just get anyone that's got any complications like that just to go and stand in front of his amp for a minute. Just to realign all your atoms.
It was so... Dan and I have remarked on it much since the show. If you haven't watched it, please do. How do I say this without upsetting anybody?
I'll
say the positive bits. Mike came in here with simple guitar, a bunch of simple pedals and 2 tube amps cranked, and proceeded to make a noise that a lot of other people employ a lot of technology to achieve. And in my opinion anyway, when it's the latter, it never moves.
Yeah.
Or it rarely moves in the way that moved. And it was pure music.
It was pure music.
Even though it sounded outside of my wheelhouse, as he would say, I was all in and taken by it.
Because that was the vehicle for Mike to express himself. And that is what you connect with.
Yeah.
You're not connecting with tone. You're not connecting with, EL34s. You're connecting with someone's vehicle for them to say something. And Mike, with that rig... at volume, you couldn't help but be... I was totally inspired after that. Like, ridiculously inspired. I went home trying to make sounds like that.
Trying to be
and it's like, actually, no, I just sound like a moron. But, man alive, it was just absolutely glorious. And Mike sent us a very lovely message.
Yeah, that was really lovely.
And just to say thank you to everyone that, all you guys that are invested in TPS, and we've built this amazing community thanks to all you, and Mike really felt the love and it meant a lot, so thank you all for that. It was really amazing.
D1570R73D says practice at 105 dB, play gigs at 85. Hopefully not. Actually, on that front, Thursday night, Southampton at the 1865 Club, I think it's called, something like that. I'm playing with Ainsley again, Ainsley Lister, this Thursday night, Southampton, Ainsley Lister. I'll be playing some songs with Ains, which definitely will not be 85 dB. It'll be loud guitars.
Come on.
So
where is it?
Southampton.
On?
Thursday night.
Okay.
You've got a big day on Friday.
I do.
And, sorry, there was a question here saying, Dan's shirt and cap logo match the new guitar. Mick, did you influence the choice or was it fate?
Look how amazing it looks.
Orange is a TPS colour. We tend to do lots of things in orange, so we are suckers for orange. Yeah. Actually, the name of the colour is the name of a record by somebody. By the Stooges. Metallic KO is a record by the Stooges.
Okay.
Which I didn't know, and so Johnny's obviously chosen the name of the colour for that. And I wonder if KO is candy orange.
Yeah.
With a K for candy.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. If you know, please tell us in the comments. Thank you, Whit, for those kind words about Mike. It was a big day for us too. Joe Halliday. He says, fantastic show last Friday. I'm a huge Biffy fan. The song The Captain reminds me of being deployed out of the Gulf in 2010. Do you have songs that remind you of a period of time? If so, does the song have more meaning?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, many.
Absolutely.
Many. And for different reasons. Some might be, emotional, family or relationships.
Yeah.
Some might be a place in time, like Even Flow by Pearl Jam always reminds me of being in the pubs in Weymouth, playing it at like the 32 degrees C, which is hot for me, not hot for you. About 5 pints in, stinking pub full of drunk people smoking, probably if the smoking ban hadn't come in by that point. And a time and a place, always.
Yeah, totally. It is. I think for a lot of us, like, so you know how sometimes a scent can take you back there. Music does that for me so much stronger than anything else.
System 1, that is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay.
I've been telling Dara, I've been started reading a great book. Anyway, whatever. It's called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Hanneman, and it is it's a bestseller, so it's well known. Anyway, System 1.
System 1.
That's what all that is.
Okay, because it's like, I remember being with my sister, and we were all the holidays. Mum would ship us off to some camp to have some alone time, and we were at this camp and they were playing Dexy's Midnight Runners. What's that song called?
Come on, Eileen.
Yeah. And I'd never been to a dance before. And everyone starts getting up for the song and jumping around. I thought, oh, this is amazing. And I'll never forget that. It was with my little sister Deb, and we just had, it was the best. And that song just takes me straight back there instantly. I remember playing this just takes me back to the night I met my wife. As soon as I hear that, as does yeah. But there's a few times you hear those songs, it's like you're right back there. I love it. It's great.
It's a great power of music, isn't it?
Mm.
David Burke quite rightly says, if you're suckers for orange, how come I've never actually spied you with an orange amp? Always thought this was a bit of an oversight. I have some you can borrow. Yeah, I'd like to find one that the orange amp that I loved a lot.
OR50?
OTR 120.
OTR 120, okay.
And a lot of orange people say it wasn't very good and they don't like it, and orange didn't like it. And the one that Mike had, people say they prefer the other ones. But that one sounded much more like my orange than the new ones. The new ones sound harder to me.
Sure.
But I guess that just comes from not really having played enough of them for a long time. I ran that OTR for a long time. 412 cab, everything. In an indie rock band, it was ace. Yeah, all right, David. Let's see if we can put that right. Bobbler42 and Chris Quinn are saying, surely KO means knockout.
Apparently, someone has confirmed it is. Robert Nolan says it's candy orange. Yes.
Oh, but Bobbler42 says KO is knockout.
No, KO is normally knockout.
Right.
But apparently...
oh, yeah, Robert... No, yeah, KO is candy orange based on aged candy apple red. Yeah, okay, well, all good.
I am so excited. And I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control.
Bruce Walker and LC3 and says, please plug it in and let's hear it. We can't, with this setup, we can't do it, unfortunately. It's too complicated to have voice mics and amp mics going. Just wicked, man. And the Huber and the SG, they're all sort of...
Yeah.
They're all hues of... Yeah, man.
Look at that.
There's a theme developing.
Yeah.
There's a theme developing. You'll hear it soon enough. Everyone is saying, please plug it in. Oh, man. Yes. Interesting, the new Jag has no rubber bridge. No muted stuff for Dan during the reading of Super Chats anymore. Yeah, Dan, you were a fan of the rubber bridge.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Dan could not see. Did you ever work out that, the in that big ballad by Madison Cunningham,
right,
the thing that sounds like percussion is her muted bridge guitar?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's just a mistake. She should wake up to herself.
Also, my wife, says Joe Halliday, has yet again booked me on an experience day. We shouldn't really say that publicly, Joe, because people who can't come get really annoyed at people who come twice. But we have no way of policing that. So lucky you, and we look forward to seeing you again. Said she noticed I was mentally in a great place after the last one. Who would have thought fine company and loud amps would improve one's mood? I'm so glad you said that, because that chimes with what I was hinting at earlier about the interaction of humans in a physical space. It's good. It's good.
There's so much value in that.
Yeah.
I haven't done a gig since Andy was over. And just been so flippin' busy with other things. And I haven't had to gig. When I was gigging loads, it's because that was my job. On top of my other job, I needed to gig to earn money to pay mortgages. And now I don't have to do that anymore. And other things, you get busy and you forget.
It drops down the priority list.
It really does. And it's like, you know what? No.
Yeah.
It's been telling on my playing that I haven't been playing as often. And so I'm really keen to get out and make some noise and
JFDI.
And yeah, JFDI, Y-I. You idiot.
Yogurt.
That's me.
Indigo.
Talking to myself.
Okay, you idiot. I see.
Just
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it, you idiot. So I reckon it's time. It's time, Michael.
What you should do is buy a load of gear in the hope that will get you out. Which is what I've done over the years.
But you're playing loads.
Not loads, but I am trying to... I've got into this thing where I've got a bunch of nice friends who let me go and play at their gigs, which is much easier than organising gigs of your own. But whatever gets you out. Whatever gets you out. I've made a promise to myself that whatever I do that involves the guitar is going to involve music. So no more noodling, no more sat around. Obviously we have to do it on the show.
Yep.
But I'm going to try and connect it with music, because the psychological payoff is so worth it.
Yeah.
So worth it. Even if it's... I'm going to mention Jake Loosemore. So Jake is a young man that we met when he was probably 14 or 15, and he watched the show, but of course he's a young man now. He's 22 and he's got his own band, and he's completely brilliant, and he plays a lot.
Brilliant.
You might see him on Instagram and stuff. He had a band, and I said, can I come down and, if you want, I'll stand at the back and just play rhythm guitar all night. Just fit in the bits that will help you do your thing. I mean, he was much more magnanimous than that, but it's like, I don't care what I play. I just don't care what I play. And which is not to denigrate Jake's music or anyone else's. It's like, what I'm saying is I don't necessarily need to be the dude at the front playing all the solos. I'm just happy to be over there contributing to the music. And it's so good for the soul.
Yeah, totally.
It's so good for the soul.
That's interesting. So David Burke has said, cards on the table, I had such an amazing time at the experience day that after the buzz for the first few days I was quite down for a few weeks. But that was because of my own isolated circumstances back then. Yeah.
It's funny you should say that, David. I definitely, after the gigs I do with Ains, I have a day or two of feeling a bit lower because the high is so good. Oh, it's brilliant, isn't it? Manicness is so good. Robert Nolan says, Mick, you're going to have to shim the neck of that Lacquer Series Jazzmaster and do a video of them head to head. Yeah, we'd said we were going to do some work on the Jag and Jazz to get them up to snuff. And that one doesn't need it, obviously, because it's had all the work
has been done.
I mean, there is an interesting resonance that we need to find, but yeah, I agree. On the, I'm going to get some. I think Matt from Monty said he was working on some Jazzmaster pickups, because the pickups in that guitar they don't sound great to my ears. So I'm going to get Matt to make some and try and get something that's a bit more musical. And that should spur us along the offset route again. Because more guitars, right? I tell you what I do want after Johnny is a Rickenbacker.
Oh, yeah, we have to get a Rickenbacker.
So
that was amazing, actually, because as soon as he pulled that guitar out, it was like, that's That's those songs. Those
Yeah.
instant. It's so cool.
I've never ever wanted a Rickenbacker before. In fact,
Right.
I've actively not wanted a Rickenbacker, unless in a sort of crazy 12-string moment.
Yeah.
But hearing Johnny play his, a couple of my mates have them and are very passionate about them. And you know that thing where you become aware of something, and then because you're aware of it, you start noticing it everywhere. I'm hearing them all over records I never realised they were on.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like, okay, so I've got a couple of. Maybe we should ask Dave which one to get, but I just reckon a straight 330.
Sure.
What colour though?
Black.
You're going to say black.
gotta be
I
black,
just don't
isn't it?
like black guitars. But it might be black. It ought to be black, I suppose, if it's a 330. I like the Fireglow. Some mixed ones.
yeah.
And actually, the natural ones look really cool.
The natural ones are very cool.
Maybe
And
we
there's
could
this-
compromise on a
that
natural one.
period in the sort of early mid-80s where they were making those natural ones, and they're fantastic guitars.
A lot of the ones I'm finding of that period have got peeling lacquer issues.
Okay.
So I might have to ask dear old Rich, who helped us out with the Johnny thing, because he knows a lot about those guitars. Anyway, sorry, I'm completely talking cob as usual. Plexico, hello Duncan. He says, hi D&M, happy B-Day, Dan.
Thank you, mate.
Ever track down the other Duncan from your outing over the weekend?
I've tracked down the other Duncan from your outing.
So you went to London. PJ and Duncan?
Oh, Duncan Floyd.
Okay.
This is the guitar player from... Yeah, I did. We've been chatting. It's going to happen. I'm fascinated to see how he makes that work. Yeah, the really lovely guy, flippin' monster guitar player.
Which you have to be if you're in that world.
So that's it, right? Because they have, whatever the gear is that they're using, they have to make that work.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to be great to make that stuff work. And he really, that thing where it's a blues and B flat, follow me for the changes and try and keep up, and he goes into Johnny Be Good, and it was so good. It was so good.
It's mad how it would be nice to talk about the production. Remember Fraser, who used to work here?
Yeah.
Fraser went on to do some production on things including The Voice, and he would be arranging the playback and the various media delivery to where it needed to go. So let's say will.i.am is working with an artist and they're doing Stand By Me in B, and Will will say, hang on, this ain't working, let's make it G, and we're going to swap the verse and the chorus round, we're going to put an extra middle 8 on the end and put verse 3 at the beginning. Message goes upstairs.
Yeah.
The Sibelius guys and girls all retranscribe it,
Yeah.
shift it about. The playback is shifted about for all the horns and stuff that are in the back. On your iPads in 5, guys.
Oh man.
And the band get the fly shit on, in front of them.
Yeah, and they're away.
And they're away. And I would love to see that, because I had no idea it worked like that. I mean, you talk about people poo-poo stuff like The Voice and all of that as rubbish telly, but the professionalism on the part of the
Incredible.
production crew and the musicians is unbelievable.
Yeah,
and it would
it
be
is
really
amazing.
good to get a look at that.
Chris Quinn said, Dave Gregory will be sad that you didn't buy a Rickenbacker because of him. Well, funnily enough...
Well, of course it would be Dave.
Of course. And funnily enough, Mr. Johnny Marr did cite Dave as one of his influences.
Chiefly, yeah.
Just that guy.
And also there's a time and a place, isn't there? As humans, sometimes it can be quite difficult to understand why somebody isn't getting something. But it might just not be their time.
Yeah.
And in time when they do get it, a bit of healing is done in all of that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like when you're screaming at the TV or at YouTube going, why don't you understand that orange amps are brilliant? It's just all in good time. All in good time.
Indeed.
Matt McGrath, hello Matt. He says, cheers Legends and happy B-Day Dan. I was
you,
hoping to hear the Plasmatron during the Mike Venart interview. Any thoughts? I love Stuart's playing in Mogwai. It's his signature pedal.
Mm-hmm.
He would make a great guest too.
Oh, bring him on. That'd be great.
I'm not... Mogwai... Was it plasmatron? I'm not familiar with it. Do you know what it is?
Oh, it's his muff style thing, isn't it?
Royce plasmatron. Yeah.
I
Dual
believe so.
circuit, fuzz, distortion, and a mixed knob.
Okay. Oh,
That's
cool.
quite cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike was when he got to the end of the pedals that he used in Empire State Bastard, he's like, "That's it.
Yep.
I'm not interested in any of this other stuff." And he was quite definite about it, wasn't he?
It was.
He's like, "That's what I'm using. That's
Yep.
what we're talking about." And
I would have taken them off the board, except Jake's put them on too tight, and I can't get them off.
And it was almost like he had a kind of, "This is where my head is. This is
Yeah.
where my head needs to stay."
Yeah.
And it was quite, not in a nasty way, just in a,
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing.
This is the sound. This
Yeah.
is the sound of the band. Yeah. I did go and see them live at the festival by the name of something that had come to me. Same guys that do 2000 Trees. It was called
2001 Trees.
2001 Trees. And it was, man alive. To hear that like on a big, festival stage, was awesome. And seeing Simon, no guitars, just out there singing this amazing alien creature who just had, like, from the moment he comes out, he just had everyone in his hand. It was extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. So good.
Awesome. I have to say it's too heavy for me. I can't. It's too heavy for me.
Sure, but being in with the humans,
and feeling
in
it.
that was great.
Yeah.
Mine was so cool because I was there with my son, and just being brutalized by this music, and turn around and my son's maths teacher is stood behind him. He just happened to be at the festival. Like, right, Zach, and he's like, "Hello, sir."
Oh, please say in fancy dress or something.
No, he was just no.
Or an A dress.
No, but he was there with his mum.
He was there with his mum. Oh yeah, I suppose because teachers are like 25 now, aren't they? When I was at school, and when you were at school, like when you were 14, all the teachers were 60 years old, weren't they?
Yeah.
Even if they were 25. But
Yeah.
now, we assume they're all 60 years old and they actually are 25, like policemen.
No, it's really great.
Hello to all the school teachers and thank you. You're all insane, but thank you. How do you do that job?
You just have to.
If the salary was £1 million a year, I still wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, couldn't do it.
Thank you, teachers.
Yes, incredible. Doug's son has just become a qualified teacher.
Has he?
Yeah, he's teaching primary school.
No way.
Yeah.
I suppose primary school might be a little bit more bearable.
Well, it's just got to bend over to hit him.
You can't say things like that anymore. Sorry, Dan just had a quick flashback to the 1970s when things like that were allowed.
Did you ever get hit? Did your teachers ever hit you?
No.
Mine, I remember.
They stopped the cane just before we started, I think.
I used to get, because I had messy handwriting.
Yeah.
Teacher used to take me out the front of the stage and give me a smack.
You weren't left-handed, were you?
No.
Because that's fine, I think, still, but... Actually, no. Blooming shout of love to all the lefties out there who used, I don't know if they still do, but used to get treated horrifically in schools for that kind of thing. No, there was no... I think they stopped the... what do they call it? Capital corporal punishment? I don't know, whatever. They stopped that alongside Latin lessons, which I'm very sad about.
Oh, okay.
Because it would have been good to do Latin.
Right. Say something else then.
Yeah.
Very sad about. It'd be good to.
Yeah. No. Let's
move on. Let's move on.
Say for the record that we absolutely oppose all forms of brutality in school.
Indeed.
Having been the victim of some of it.
Indeed.
All right there, Dude Masters, says Kristen Abbott. Hello,
Amazing.
Kristen. And we did miss a super chat earlier from Ranzer. Ran, hello, nice to hear from you as always. He says, D and M and B and H and K and R and chat. Dearest Daniel, happy birthday and congratulations from Remotest Israel.
Ah.
He says, congratulations on the new release. Have you released something?
Oh, so yeah,
Hope the celebrations were marvellous.
Thank you, mate. So today we did a soft release, shall we say, for the new Remotest Loopy 2, which is for our email subscribers, but it gets released properly tomorrow.
Right.
To general releaseness.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this enables you to add more loops to your
to any rig, but
G machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also stereo. It's also MIDI. It's all, you can do all fancy stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. Good fun.
Congrats.
Thank you. I mean, stupid thing is, it's been, we've been ready to release it for 18 months. It's just been waiting on the components to arrive, and then the ships come in. All the components have finally landed. Yeah, but no, it's great. I'm just delighted to finally have it out in the world. Someone had asked how we were switching stuff on Simon McBride's. We're switching some stereo pedals on Simon McBride's. There's a remote loopies underneath his board. Yeah, I'm driving up to Cambridgeshire tomorrow.
Yeah.
And dropping those rigs off. But spoke to Simon today. Yeah.
Oh, are you dropping them off with Gav?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm dropping Piers.
Yeah. Oh, he'll show you his studio.
Awesome. Is it amazing?
I haven't been for a long time, but yeah.
Yeah. What a lovely chap.
I think he's got a Neve R desk.
Right. Yeah. No, that was fascinating.
Indeed, what a lovely guy. Yeah. Sorry, I was a bit.
Sorry, you're trying to be professional and stuff, and I'm like, my head is in a whole different place.
It's just not something I'm aspiring to anymore.
One of us.
David Matai says, will we be seeing you at the Guitar Summit in Mannheim this weekend? No, David. Spectacularly, once again, we have failed to go to Guitar Summit. Every time I bump into the guy who organises it, or one of the guys that organises it, say, right, we must come this year. And every year, it's just the worst time of year for us.
Yeah.
The end of summer holidays, all kinds of things happening with business getting up and running again. There's so much that happens in this month. It's like, nah, I just sorry, can't do it, which is a real shame because it's a very happening event, Guitar Summit.
Yeah.
In fact, without wishing to offend anyone, I'd much rather go there than NAMM, to be honest.
Is it still held at someone? Is it Guitar Point?
I think Guitar Point are involved in some way, but it's in Mannheim.
Last time we were there, yeah, that's where Guitar Point is. Up there.
We've never been to Guitar Summit.
No, but I went to Guitar Point when I first did a board for Josh Smith.
Okay.
And I went to Guitar Point. They had 3 bursts.
Oh yeah, it's pretty serious. Isn't it somebody famous who owns Guitar Point?
I don't know.
Or used to.
But I was there, and so I've got Josh Smith, Kurt Fletcher.
Oh, hang on, Guitar Point's in Frankfurt.
Ah, okay. Well, that's where I was.
Yeah, which is not Mannheim at all.
Where's Mannheim?
Don't know.
Okay.
I think we should move on. Lots of people saying they got paddled at school.
Yeah. So paddled.
That's a word that gets used in the United States, but not here. It was the cane here. You would get hit with a wicker cane. I think in certain parts of England it was just a good old fist. In the 70s. Blackboard rubbers, says someone had blackboard rubbers thrown at them.
Oh, yeah.
Says Brian Mills. Our geography teacher, who had a very officious moustache, he used to throw the blackboard rubber.
Right.
Yeah. Because obviously then we had blackboard rubbers, not flipping displays with laser pointers and keyboards.
Whiteboards are a thing.
Are they?
But they write half a sentence and the pen runs out, like every time. And you can see whiteboards where the teacher started off to write something, and by the end it's just a mist.
It's like overhead projectors, isn't it? You know how when you go to see a presentation anywhere in the world with an overhead projector, it always breaks down part of the way through. I did a naughty boy speeding course last week, and I saw the OHP. I thought, I know what's going to happen here. Boom, purple screen, no signal. I'm like,
Well, how was it? Was it enlightening?
it's actually brilliant. I learned a lot of stuff,
Right.
and I think they should include it as part of the driving test.
Ah.
I learned stuff I didn't know, and I was reminded of things I didn't know, and there was some stuff that was really, really genuinely, interestingly useful. And I'm not just saying that.
Right.
It was good.
Good.
Yeah.
Justin Garcia says Mannheim is relatively close to Frankfurt. Greetings
there
from
we
Germany.
are. Yeah. Sort of galactically relative, or
Evolutionary.
yeah.
Yeah, relatively close.
Yeah. Anyway, let's not get into that. I was looking at the diagram of the sun and the planets,
Right.
and I hadn't realised that we're closer to the sun than we are some of the close planets.
Closer to the sun than even some of the... Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
I hadn't quite realised that.
But
I
the
thought the
scale
sun was
is-
much further away.
Yeah, the scale is
Yeah.
epic.
Yeah. I know, that much I get, but I assume the sun was like over there.
Yeah, and
the planets were sort of here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Physicists and astrophysicists and planetarians, is that the right word? Laughing uproariously at this point. Yeah. Jamie Henderson, Helix HX Stomp, thumbs up or down, pros, cons. We're the wrong person to ask about that kind of thing. Yeah, we're just not the right people for that. Dan and I like analog stuff. And if it is digital, with a really good analog dry path and as minimal digital as humanly possible. And really loud tube amps and big cabinets with lots of speakers in turned up really loud. And we've stopped apologising for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. All that stuff has...
Well, there's so many YouTube channels that you can get expert opinions on. The thing is, we couldn't give you an opinion on it because, we're just the wrong people. Still trying to get the most out of a Boss DD5.
Yeah, ask us about tube amps and traditional guitars. We'll give you a good answer about that. Justin Baylog. Hi, Justin. Good to hear from you, buddy. He says, a buddy asked me who my top 5 guitarists are, and I wanted to let you know that D&M are on my list. Thanks for everything, TPSW. What an exceptionally kind thing to say. Thank you,
amazing.
Justin. That's very kind of you, mate.
Yep.
Shawnee is Cubs fan 1. Question for Mick. Since you love Strats, would you play a Strat made of something like Mahogany or Karina as opposed to Alder or Ash?
Karina.
Yeah, why not? There were some Karina ones, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, Mike at ATB had one, and then somebody else had one. I think
But they're shaped like a V
but
and had humbuckers.
the late and lovely Bernie Marsden, may he rest in peace, had one. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to phrase this in a way that makes logical sense. I'm slowly educating myself to be less identified with certain things.
Okay.
And that's problematic because when I look at the old Strat, as it should be, apart from the refinish from 1961, I have a funny feeling inside, and I kind of don't want anything else.
Yeah.
And for a
But
long
see,
time,
I love that funny feeling.
for a long time, that put up this false dichotomy that anything else was immediately rubbish,
Right.
which of course is not the case. So it's how do you allocate enough time to giving to other stuff, which should get a fair listen, or do you just go, you know what, I've found it, and I don't need to look intently anymore. Which is to say, if I pick one up one day and I like it and I play it and it's great and I think this is brilliant, then of course. Dan's not going to like this, but I am on a bit of a telly. I can find myself Googling Esquires.
Oh,
Like a maple neck 54, 55
yeah, go for it.
Esquire or
Yeah,
something. Well, I can't buy any more guitars, but there's something in my head is doing that at the moment, and you just got to say stop, play the guitar. Stop that, play the guitar.
Yeah.
So yeah, Shawnee, I would totally not be averse to that. It would be super interesting to what's quite hard about those things is we're quick to make snap judgments about that. So you'd play the guitar for a minute and you go, oh yeah, this is different or that's different, and you'd attribute it to a certain physical characteristic. But the learning,
System 1.
yeah, System 1 absolutely, but System 1 informing System 2.
There's a pedal.
System 1 inform with all its biases and heuristics, giving System 2 a framework around which to build a narrative, which is how politics works. Anyway, System 1 and System 2. System 1, this is by Daniel Hanneman in Thinking Fast and Slow. System 1, all the stuff that your brain doesn't think about. So all the stuff you do intuitively, naturally, all the stuff that's developed over the evolution of humankind, that's also baked into the things you learn. So when you read words on a page, you don't think about how to read them, you just read them. When you see a dog, you say dog. You don't have to go through any mechanical... It's effortless perception, judgment, and all the things that your System 1 brain does. System 2, 17 times 54. You've got to think about it. You have to compute. You have to do something. And Hanneman's book is all about the effect of System 1, or at least I'm 2 chapters in. It is the effect of System 1 on System 2. So all the biases, and there are all kind of loads of different biases and heuristics that we could talk about that affect the narrative you build in System 2, which is your thinking mind. Why are we talking about that?
No idea.
Strats, yeah.
Strats.
So the point is, in order to really learn, you have to spend extended time with this stuff. You can't just do a blind test on some YouTube show.
Yeah.
Sorry to be so pointed about it, but we've done a bit of that in our time. And make a judgment. You can't. You've got to live with it. You've got to make music with it. You've got to play it through 8 different amps. You've got to experience it over time to enable your narrative to get ironed out. And that is the hard thing when choosing any new gear, because you don't really have the opportunity to do that.
Oh, just to finish that off.
Perfect. Thanks, Dan.
No worries.
That was good. Anyway, that's current thinking. Could all change next week. Steve Mass. Hello, Steve.
G'day, Steve.
And Steve, I'm sorry I haven't replied to your email. He says, in an emergency, you have to play a gig with a guitar that has much lighter strings than you normally use, or much heavier. What to do?
Emergency noise.
That's very good. So you're doing a gig, your guitar spontaneously combusts. That happens.
Yes.
And someone says, yeah, you can have this guitar, but it's got 8s on it, or this one's got 14s on it.
8s.
Yeah, me too. Every day of the week.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to make 14s.
13s?
13s I'd have to think about. 12s I would go for.
You'd go for yeah.
Over the 8s, definitely.
Yeah, I'd go for 12s, I think.
Yeah.
But part of me is like, 8's awesome.
Yeah. But the problem is, on 8s, every time you play a chord, you're going to throw the whole thing out of tune just because you're so used to, We've had amazing experiences with, so it's happened twice now. Josh Scott and Simon McBride, they've had these guitars with, they're set up and whatever, and I'm playing them, I'm thinking, gee, there's not a lot of top end in these guitars, and then these guys pick them up and just hammer them, and suddenly they're bright and resonant, because the way they're set up for them to play, and they play so heavy, that pulls all that top end out. So with strings that are too heavy for me, I think I'd make them sound really dull. Yeah. And every now and then, I do find really light strings really fun.
Yeah.
It can be really fun.
Yeah. I'm still, whenever I hear light strings on a Strat, or a Tele for that matter, and you hear that twangy, springy thing.
The sponginess of the strings, yeah.
It is a great sound.
It's a great sound.
But like he said, I have to play them for a week before I can play anything in tune.
Yeah. Chris, yes. Did I say Josh Scott? Sorry, I meant Josh Smith. I always get them confused.
Yeah. Chris Walker. Hi, Legends. Chris, Goatee Dude here. GOTY, guitarist of the year. Goatee.
Oh, cool.
Sorry if we're not getting that reference, Chris. He says, "Happy birthday, Dan. Got spliced a couple of weekends ago, and instead of a band, we had all our muso mates have a massive jam session. It was perfect."
Oh, lovely.
Much love from Chris.
Oh, that's brilliant, mate.
Yona or Jonah Livingston. Hi, Jonah. He says, "Much love to my favourite show on the interweb. I have a 2-rock sensor amp, and I wanted to know what you would recommend to pair with that for a wet-dry mix. It has good crunch, so needing something clean." I haven't spent a lot of time with the sensor, but 2-rocks in general are so versatile and can do so many things. It's probably the usual answer of you could pair anything with that without too much trouble. And
What was the really clean amp they did? Not the steel string. The
they did one called a traditional clean.
traditional clean. Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah, so blimey, I would personally go with. Most of us have a sort of leaning, don't we? So if I was going to buy one amp tomorrow that wasn't my 2-rock, my home is a Fender black panel amp, probably. So it would be, I don't know what it'd be, like a Vibraverb or a Vibrolux or a Twin, and that would be home for me, because I know, or a 70 silver panel Fender amp, and that's home.
Yeah.
And for you it would be a Vox, and for a lot of other people it might be a Marshall or an Orange. I would go with the amp that feels like home to you.
Yeah.
That isn't
totally.
the 2-rock, and just make them work together. Because then, if you're not using the 2-rock, you've got an amp you can use on its own, and it'd be a cool thing. And it depends how loud you play. If you don't play that loud, get something that's relatively portable as well. So if you have just got to take one amp somewhere, take that one.
Sure.
Flipping it. So Simon, who used to do our filming and editing, who helps us out when we need a grown-up at jobs like Johnny Marr and Noel Gallagher, he came and did Johnny Marr with us, and he did Noel Gallagher with us. Simon's just acquired a couple of vintage Fender amps.
He's got the vintage amp bug now, hasn't he?
And I went up there to collect the media from him. And oh my God, he's got one of those Pros like Dan lent us with the 15-inch 53 Pro. We know what that sounds like.
We
It
know
sounds
what that
amazing.
sounds like.
But he's got a 57 Vibrolux that's been modded. So a Tweed Vibrolux modded by Jesse to include reverb. And I don't know if tremolo was in it originally, but it's got reverb and tremolo. Oh my God, man. It sounds... It's that thing where you just play a few notes and it just goes...
Got to get Jesse on the show.
And the overtones and the harmonics and everything in it is just like, wow, I don't need to do any work here.
Yeah.
I can just... It's doing the work.
It's magic. So magic.
Yeah, vintage amps, man. Ugh. Well-maintained vintage amps that don't suck. I think it's important to say.
Yeah.
Because there probably are a lot more vintage amps that are not well-maintained and do suck kicking around.
It'd be... I'd love to have the conversation with Jesse about the key components in those amps that are responsible for that non-suckiness.
Everyone says Transformers.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we know that's going to be part of it. We know the speaker's going to be part of it. But, you know, caps, original valves, things that are biased for Mullards versus, you know, modern Chinese valves. It'd just be really interesting because no one knows more about the Tweed amp than what goes into those old Tweed amps. He's the go-to guy for so many legends.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating chat.
Stop talking about it and actually do it. We've been talking about it for 2 years, I reckon now.
I've been talking to Jesse about it, but he's a busy guy. He's in demand. So, but yeah, I'm gonna tell you what to do. I'll go down, and I'll lure him into the car. You know, take the wagon.
Yeah.
And I'll just find an old baseman. Say, Jesse, check this out. Just get him in the boot and then drive him down here.
Joshua Alanis says, are you talking about Jesse Davey? No, we're not. We're talking about Jesse Hoff, who is Lazy J Amps. Jesse Hoff.
Listen to that.
Yeah, there are some rattles in it. Is that what you mean?
No, listen to that. I'm bending up.
Oh, and the vibrato stays. Yeah. It is great. It is great. Yeah, so Jonah, we'd say go for something that appeals to you. You know, if you're a Marshall person in the middle of your heart, get a Marshall. If you're a Fender person in the middle of your heart, get a Fender, etc., etc. Is what I would say. W Cart 2. How close can a V140 Super Duchess and 2-Rock Classic Reverb Signature get to a steel string singer type circuit, 50 or 100 watt models for Amplified Nation? For example, tonally, has Victory and 2-Rock already, but I'm gassing for the steel string singer. I can't speak for the Amplified Nation one because I've never played one, unless that's the one that Pete Honore's got, in which case that is a really, really special thing. I have played a few now steel string singers or silver sterling signatures by 2-Rock. Quite interesting. So the aforementioned Jake Loosemore has got a silver sterling signature 100 watt version. And we had them in here side by side one day. Both the classic reverb, which I have, 2-Rock, and V140, which we know very well, the Victory, have... Oh, how can I explain this? We're trying not to tie myself in knots. They're not the fastest amps in the world in terms of pick attack. I definitely know amps that are more urgent, but they are relatively quick.
Right.
The steel string singer is so interesting because it's almost like it's got a built-in compressor.
Oh, wow.
Which, as I understand it, is something to do with the cathode follower, blah, blah, blah. I don't really understand what I'm talking about, although I do know what that does. Somebody explained it to me. And it's like you hit the note and it just like goes, come here. And then it goes, and it just develops in this incredibly toneful and addictive way, which makes you just want to play a bit less and let the note bloom. And that's the thing I would take away from the 2-Rock Silver Sterling Signature anyway, and its biggest difference from something like my classic reverb and indeed the Victory V140, which is kind of a more typical experience of a loud, clean amp. So I would say they are quite different. And can they get close? Yes, I guess. And then it's all down to your playing. Could you introduce a compressor to... Yeah, you could, but it's not really a compression kind of... They do feel very different to play. It might be that you can manipulate that with different tube choices, with setting changes. But there was something unique about the steel string singer in the way that Dumble did it that clearly... Stevie Ray liked a great deal. Clearly, John Mayer likes a great deal, etc., etc. So, what's our scale? Are we talking Marshall Plexi and Fender Deluxe reverb differences? No, they're not that different. They're different within this little microcosm of nerdiness that we've decided to get into. So, and your experience is going to be different from mine. If you can find one to play, that will answer all your questions. It's so tough, isn't it? Because everyone's personal experience of things is very different.
Oh,
it's completely different.
Completely different. Which is, I mean, you know, I know we bang on about this, but there is no substitute for getting your hands dirty and trying the stuff out for yourself. You know, talking about what it is that Mike Venart connects to, the reason he knows he connects to that is because that guy's done his homework. And he's played through 1,000 different amplifiers at volume, and he's found the things that connect with him, so it allows him to express himself. You know, it might be, have a listen to, there's some really great recordings of the early Who demos that Pete Townsend had done. And those demos sound amazing. And there's a little Princeton that he used in the studio, cranked, and it's like, it sounds so close to his high watts cranked. It's unreal. But that wasn't an accident. sure, he didn't have the choice that we've got now, but he's like, actually, no, this little thing turned up to here is what I connect with to write these songs.
Yeah.
That's your job. Your job is to try this stuff out.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Lots of people saying they like the Seriatone, steel string singer type amplifier.
I need to do a bit more research on that, because I only know them as they do clones of stuff. I'd be really interested to.
Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of mine had a DC-30 Seriatone copy. Yeah, it was fine. He loved it. It's interesting. I wonder if they do any.
Yeah, I heard
stuff.
one of the overdrive Dumble ones, and it was not similar.
Okay.
Or at least not similar to the ODSs that I played. But
Sure.
then that could be down to a lot of things: cabinet, room, environment, and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Right. Moving on. Andreas Johansson. Hi, Andreas. As a massive Deep Purple fan, I love Friday's show. What are your thoughts about Simon's Strats on Strats on Stance? Stance on Strats. I found it weird. They worked for Blackmore? ? I thought he explained that quite eloquently in the video.
Yeah. I'm not going to expand on that. Yeah. See Simon's comments.
I'd love to rewind, because it's so interesting, this. We set up all kinds of narratives in our mind about the decision process. And one of the narratives we set up is, surely player A would go through all the guitars and decide which one sounds the best and choose the one that sounds the best or the closest. And that's just not how it works, because it's highly likely that player A, be it Simon or Steve Morse or me or the bloke down the pub, has an affinity with a certain kind of instrument which lets them be free, which means they're not fighting the instrument because they've played it for so long, they're so completely comfortable with it, they can get all the sounds they need out of it. And it's another way of removing the sort of thinking brain, if you like, and being in that flow. Whereas if you then suddenly introduce something alien, like a new guitar, and you've got to spend 10 years learning it, the flow goes. And I can totally see why people don't want to do that. You play what's comfortable and you play what you know how to manipulate. I'd love to know if the guitars that were available now were available then, what our heroes would choose.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine that the fight in the mid-70s was getting enough overdrive.
Yeah, which is why they had to be so freaking loud.
And if they were given loads more overdrive, would they have used it? Blackmore could easily have played... Was Smoke on the Water played on a 335, or am I making that up?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
I don't know.
I could be. Anyway,
I have
whatever.
no idea.
Yeah, who knows why the individual chooses what they choose, and the answer is, in Simon's case, it's because it's the guitar he's played forever. He feels super comfortable with it. He likes the sound of it. He has a relationship with Paul.
And don't forget,
it's a no-brainer.
They hired Simon McBride to join the band. They didn't hire a Ritchie Blackmore clone to join the band. They love Simon's playing.
Yeah.
They love his sound. They love him as a human. And it's like, we want you in the band. And it's like, okay. And he didn't then go, okay, I need to sound more like Ritchie Blackmore. He says, no, they've hired me. I'm going to do my thing.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And loads of people actually commented on the video that said they'd gone to see Deep Purple and Simon absolutely blew them away.
Yeah, they were really nice. They were really nice comments, I thought.
Yeah.
About Simon's position in the band.
Yeah.
Because I was expecting a bit of a kickback.
Right.
You know, It's not watching Blackmore. But that didn't seem to happen.
Yeah. No, it's great. Have a look at some YouTube videos of Simon playing with Deep Purple. Honestly, it's just awesome.
Yeah. Gremlin Fred 3. Hi, good morning from the Disney Studio paint department.
No way.
We love the show. Question, did you guys get your Not For Josh pedal yet? I can't wait to get mine in the mail. Emily Harpist has got a pedal that's called Not For Josh, and Josh Scott is legally not allowed to buy it. I mean, I'm assuming that it's made by Josh, right?
That's funny.
I'm assuming it's made by Josh. Or it's made by Poison Noises. Somebody please do some journalism and find out who's behind Poison Noises. Yeah, because it sounds like brilliant marketing to me. He is a brilliant marketeer.
This is amazing.
Like it?
It plays itself. Honestly, it's I love it.
This is the Dan we know and love. It is cool. It does have a vibe for sure.
It really does.
I played it for 20 minutes before it came alive. I think it's been stored. If you smell the case, it does smell like it's been stored. Smell the guitar. It smells like rehearsal studio.
Yeah. Yep.
And I played it for a good 20 minutes, and then it wouldn't stay in tune. It wouldn't stay in tune. It didn't want to sound. And 20 minutes, it was like, here I am.
That's just...
like it's remembered how to resonate or something. I appreciate that. It sounds completely crazy to a lot of people. I make no apologies. Well, Gremlin Fred, from Disney Studio Paint Department, thank you for your work in the Disney Studio.
I watched a film with my son yesterday that I've never heard of. It's is it Elements? There's a girl made of fire and a boy made of water, and they meet and all that stuff. And I was reminded.
Avatar?
No.
The Jungle Book?
No. I think it's called Elements or something like that.
Fiery Water Story.
Fiery Water Boy.
Fire Water Story.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's called Steam. And
lukewarm water.
The moose. It's called Preserved Moose. And but I was reminded yesterday, I thought, well, here's another Disney film, they crank them out. I'll tell you what, man, they've got this magic formula for tugging on the heartstrings, and by the end of it you're going, oh, it's so beautiful.
They understand System 1, you see.
They understand System 1.
And how to tweak it.
Yeah, how to monetize it.
Mativ1 says Ingvi is coming to the UK in autumn. How about getting him on TPS? More is more. I would move mountains to get Ingvi on.
Yeah, definitely.
I've seen him a couple of times and
more is more.
I remain in awe of the guy.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Is it?
Tepid water, says Larry does not live here. Yeah. Jack and Jill, was it called then?
Oh, I don't know.
KB says my 6L6 amp.
Elemental. Thank you, Simon VR Radio DJ.
Okay.
Elemental.
There you go. My 6L6 amp is solid state rectified, fixed bias.
So was Stevie Ray's.
Yeah, so are a great many Fender Black Panel amps above 50 watts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have options for a second amp. One is a solid state rectified fixed bias but 6V6. Others are 6L6 again, but one is tube rectified cathode biased. The other, solid state rectified cathode biased. Are there any useful differences? I would say you're worrying about all the things that don't matter.
Yep. Honestly.
Well, now I feel a bit bad because you've been tremendously generous in your super chat. Thank you. honestly, don't worry about that stuff. They are attributes of amplifiers that group together with other attributes of amplifiers to make the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think we can very easily focus on that one thing and think it's the thing that's giving us the sound, when in actual fact it's a system. I honestly wouldn't worry. So, for example, we'll quite often pair our deluxe reverb, which is a tube rectified. Please tell me it's tube rectified. Fixed bias amp. Are they tube rectified deluxe reverbs? Surely they are.
I think. Well, yeah, I think so. Well, Mick's gone. When we were from Manchester, and I was asking Johnny about how that came about, and he picked up his Jag, and he says, "I don't know. He says, I just wanted to write something up," and he was playing this riff, and it just fell out of him. Yeah.
Yes, it is. So we'll use that with any of our other amps in a wet dry setup and get good response.
Yeah.
One of the best wet dry setups we've ever had is Dan's Matchless and my 2-Rock. So solid state rectified, 6L6 fixed bias.
Yeah.
EL84 cathode bias tube rectified. Is it, please?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. GZ34 rectifier valve. You can convert that into a dual rectifier.
Yeah. There's only one in there at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, we would say don't worry about that kind of thing. The thing to think about with wet dry, Dan and I like the approach where both amps are doing a similar job. So if you've got one amp that's really squashy and overdriven and no dynamic at all, and an amp that's really clean and endless dynamics and loads of headroom, that can present an issue when you start turning on overdrive pedals and wanting delays to sound clean in the front,
trying to boost and
things like that.
Yeah.
It could be entirely applicable if you want your bass core overdriven sound and the other amp is doing all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So you want the other amp to boost for solos when you turn your overdrive pedal on, kind of takes over the game, if you like. Similarly, if your wet effects are only hitting that high headroom amp, it doesn't matter. So it's not saying you can't do that. The way we tend to do it is to have the amps similar kind of headroom. Maybe one's a little bit squashy than the other, but generally, you know,
it's not.
When you step on the overdrive pedal, they kind of do that.
Yeah,
maybe,
as opposed to that.
Yeah. So think about what you want that relationship to be, and if you've got the answer to that question, then choosing the amp should get a bit simpler after that.
We started with our impedance. Now we have strictly headroom.
Ah, this is good.
Come on!
Now there's a t-shirt. Strictly headroom. Please, somebody write that down. Bebbers, write that down if you're watching. Strictly headroom. There it is. There it is. There it is. So yeah, I would say don't worry about those things. Again, pick an amp you like the idea of on its own. So that if you're only going to use one amp, you just use one amp. And it might contrast with your other amp.
Yeah.
So
that can be the contrast thing for me has been absolutely key to getting a sound that is so rich and inspiring to play, but you don't immediately go, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah.
The first time I heard that, do you remember that song Black Velvet?
Alana Miles.
And I saw her guitar player do it.
Yeah.
And he had an old Pro Reverb and something else. And
quite Stevie Ray, the solo in that, isn't it?
Yeah. But
quite bluesy.
Yeah, but I hadn't heard a guitar sound, you know, it was kind of unique. And these two amps doing their thing flat out. So yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's very good.
Nice shuffle, that, or a nice feel anyway. So Dan has paired his Matchless with his Vox. He's paired it with a Bassman. He's paired it with his Lazy J. So we got two Tweeds and another Vox style. My 2-rock is always one of my wet dry amps. The other one might be 50 watt plexi, might be a deluxe reverb, might be a very dumbly 2-rock, might be the Hughes and Kettler Pure Tone. I've done gigs with all of those setups. Actually, no, I haven't gigged the Pure Tone. I used to use the Pure Tone and a Mesa Lone Star.
Nice.
But yeah, don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it matters less than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're talking wet dry, if you're talking stereo, it's a different game. You want those things to be as similar as possible, ideally.
Dave Lewis has said, Mick and Dan, are you going to take that pedal show on tour in the UK anytime soon? We were actually talking about that today. Desperate to get out and be amongst humans and have humans come down and experience some things that we experience here. Let us know what the things that you see in the show that you'd like to experience. Because we can come up and do a gig, but I want to do what we find when we have people in the studio, and obviously we can't bring the studio down, is that there are some experiences that happen when they, especially with the deluxe reverb, and it really has a massive impact on the way they hear and feel and play guitar. And I'd like to, if we'd have to work it out, but I don't know, I think there's an opportunity there.
Yeah. There are a bunch of narratives in that and a bunch of desires on our part. Exactly that. It's about getting people to have the physical experience. And the number of pennies that drop or that might drop are really life-changing.
Yeah. And I'd love to come and spend time with people bring their pedal boards down and have a chat.
It's a two-way thing.
It's a really, really fun thing.
It's not just me and Dan going, here, have some knowledge. It's definitely, it's definitely a two-way experience. We got to work out how to do it.
David Tompkins says clown show at half-time, please. You know it. It wouldn't be a TPS.
Spinal Tap and Puppet Show.
I said once.
Good luck, KB. Whichever direction you go in. Whichever direction you go in. I would say go with your heart. Go with the amp that you like.
Yeah, totally.
You like the idea of playing on its own, and figure a way that it will work with your other amp.
Yeah, love it.
Sean Gerolimatos. Hello, Sean.
Hello, mate.
Hello to all the legendary letters at TPS. Legendary letters at TPS. I'm gassing for a dual P90 guitar and debating Les Paul Gold Tops, Specials and Reverends. I need to try a bunch, but curious to hear your experiences with P90s.
This guitar...
I have the most hilarious confession about P90s.
This is the first P90 guitar I ever owned, and really had no need to own another P90 guitar. That is the most outrageous sounding thing ever. It's extraordinary.
We said it before, say it again. It is the loudest guitar acoustically and electrically in this room. Which might tee into all those arguments that say wood doesn't add anything to the tone, but it does take away.
Yeah, right.
It's a subtractive relationship, not an additive one. And given that there's hardly any wood in that guitar and it's all the same thing, it's doing much less than a complex lump of lumber. It's an extraordinary guitar. So we would probably say start with Specials.
Yeah.
I mean, with an SG Special, it's different because it can change the relationship of the neck join, which isn't to everyone's taste. But then you've got the old Les Paul Special dual P90 guitar, which is a fabulous thing. I've got a Collings that's based on that design, and it is just a glorious sounding thing.
And this is a format that you see a lot, where they have a humbucker in the bridge and a P90 in the neck to get a bit of that top end single coil.
Because humbuckers in the neck are hard work for people who like single coil pickups.
Yeah.
I almost almost never use the neck humbucker on my humbucker guitars.
Yeah, right.
Almost. I mean, the 325 I do when it's clean, but for distortion, unless you're going for overt woman tone or Santana mid honk, I find it just too woolly, regardless of the guitar. I would start with a Junior personally.
Yeah.
Because that's like the classic.
It's
But then a flipping gold top with I was playing Simon. Simon's got a 50 whatever it is custom shop with the single piece bridge.
right.
You know, carved top Les Paul.
Yeah.
Like a 54, I guess that would be 53. Man, that guitar sounds magic. It's so good. For something completely different. Spectacular dual P90 experience.
Yeah.
But obviously not much good at heavy volume under loads of gain. I love this guitar.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's a really sonorous thing. But my shocking admission about P90s is I just hate the way they look.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the dog ears or
Just all of it.
all of it?
Yeah. You know, much as I love Les Pauls with P90s, and I genuinely love the sound of them, and I love playing them, that's what it should look like.
Yeah.
So, you know, System 1 getting well involved there, complete unnecessary bias. Except in a Junior, of course, in which case it's the only pickup that should be in that guitar.
Yeah.
Never going to get over it. Yeah, good luck. Play a few. I would say, Sean, that combination of P90 simple slab mahogany body is such a special thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
a revelation.
a really special thing.
Yeah, it really is. So that guitar, when I was in a band with Dave Gregory, and he would bring in a new guitar every week to rehearsal. Like for 2 years, every Wednesday, every week, a new guitar. And then he bought a 60s, 62, I think his Junior. And I played it, and I'd never played one. I'd never played a P9 single P90 thing before, and I just could not get over it.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous, and I had no money and had to go out, and Dave said, "I'll help you find one," and he found that for me on eBay, and the guy wanted more money than I had. The guy wanted $3,000 for it. And the maximum credit I could get on my credit card was $2,000 at the time. So I messaged the guy and I said, I really want this guitar, but I can only raise $2,000.
This was back when that was a reasonable price for that guitar.
Yeah, this is a long time ago. This is probably 13, 14 years ago. And he said, no way, it's worth a lot more than that. And I thought, fair enough.
What a really
sure
high quality travel mug
It's
that is.
beautiful.
Made by Chili's, available from that pedal show store. I mean, you could go a long time with a hot drink in that. Sorry, mate.
No, it's great. And I thought, I sat there and watched it on eBay, thinking there's my dream Junior, and it's going to go. And it didn't sell. It didn't meet the price. The following week, it was on for 2.5. So I emailed him again and said, mate, I've got $2,000. I'll give it to you right now. He's like, no. And I watched the auction again, and it didn't meet it. And then the auction finished, and I emailed and says, I wish I could offer you more. I know the guitar is worth more, but I promise you I'll love that guitar, and it'll be, he went, all right. And I got it for $2,000. And
there you go.
Yeah. And Dave Gregory played it and said it's his favourite electric guitar ever. That one. I'm like, yeah, come on.
Awesome. They're preposterously more versatile than you would ever think possible.
The clean sounds in them. That combination of rolling off the tone a bit and rolling back the volume.
Pseudo acoustic guitar sounds. I'd use that over any acoustic guitar simulator any day of the week. Quick answer to your question, Kevin Steinmetz. Kevin Steinmetz says, at the age of 37, I've got my first solo acoustic gig this Thursday. Do you have any advice?
First of all, that's awesome.
Congrats.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So this is to prepare you, not to give you any sense of foreboding, but solo acoustic gigs are the best and worst gigs I've ever seen. Because done right, they're amazing and they can be so intimate. But done wrong, it's tricky. So first thing I would do is make sure if you get a chance to, practice at the volume that you're going to be playing. Now, if you can play and you don't have to be like super loud, it's great. Acoustic guitar plugged in, one of the hardest things to control is when you need to be loud, because the guitar's so sensitive and can pick up feedback and all that sort of stuff. If it's a small gig and you don't have to be too loud, that's great. Just enjoy it and have fun. The vocal is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Except for, of course, the guitar. But just enjoy it, mate.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Enjoy it. And remember a couple of things. One, the audience wants you to have fun.
Yes,
and be
they're
good.
on your side.
They are on your side. It's not combative.
No.
And
unlike restaurants.
Yeah. If you can possibly manage to get your head around this, it's not about you. It's about the audience.
Mm.
And it's your job to be free, to enjoy what you're doing, to sing the songs with some heart, and not be overly concerned on the quality of your performance, the amount of wrong notes you play, or if you forget words.
Yeah.
All those things just don't matter a toss. Enjoy it, try and be in the moment of it, and remember you're there for the audience. If they're ignoring you, which often happens at solo acoustic gigs, I find,
right,
especially if they're yelling at each other at the bar.
I'll have 2 pints of lager and a packet of chicken crisps.
One little tactic I would employ is to have a quiet bit in a song and go absolutely whisper quiet.
Right.
And quite often they go, and then you bring them back up with you. But that might come with a bit more experience as you get going. But yeah, it's not about you, it's about the audience. Don't focus too much on your own shortcomings. Once you get to that gig, once you hit the go button, none of that matters. Put the song over.
Yeah.
Sing the song with heart,
yeah,
and enjoy it. And they want you to be good, and they want to enjoy it, and they want you to succeed.
Give us a report next week. I'd love to hear you go. But good luck, mate. That's fantastic.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
people playing and singing is just the best thing. It's the best thing.
Yeah,
apart from all strats, but. Yeah, focus on the fun of it, says Chris Costabile. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Right, Dwayne Jessam, Daniel, and also, let's see, someone else here, Trevor Hart. Dwayne Jessam and Trevor Hart are desperate to know what the guitar was you were playing at the top of the video.
Okay.
Because we did the Jag thing, and then Dan obviously was distracted.
Man, okay. So, I've got a...
He doesn't want to put it down.
I had done Stephen Wilson's rig for the Porcupine Tree tour recently, and he got in touch and said, "Oh, I've got this lying around. Do you want to have a go on it? See what you think?" Oh yeah, great. So he's got another one that's exactly the same. So it's from a company called Loomisonic that I can't find any information on. This is a prototype. that was made for Stephen. We plugged it in the other day, and it sounds flippin' fantastic.
It's what's the word I'm looking for? Preconception smashing guitar.
Right.
It's got a metal body. It's got a laughable tremolo system.
It's the Carla tremolo. I love it.
And
Look at this.
It sounded killer, didn't it?
It
Really,
did.
really honking, awesome rock guitar sound.
Yeah. And I've seen Stephen play this guitar, this one, or, you know, because it's got, you can still see where he's, you know, he's toured this extensively. And like in an arena, and the lights hit it, it just looks like something else. It really does. But it's a really interesting guitar. So aluminium body, 5-way selector for the pickups.
Yeah.
And that's a kill switch.
So that's like, what's that like? Meh, 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 meh. Awesome.
Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does that thing with that selector switch.
Technical terms today.
And you know, a guilty pleasure of mine is I've always really liked a Carla tremolo.
Right.
That-
Kayla.
Yeah, they're just really smooth. Anyway,
Dan really likes things that work rather than things that are cool and rubbish. And I'm in the latter camp.
but because it's a semi-hollow,
It's a really, really cool guitar.
I really dig it.
Completely by accident, Nico, who plays guitar with Stephen, that show's coming up soon, brought in an aluminium neck guitar,
Yeah.
which also had a metal body.
Yes.
And that sounded killer as well.
Yeah, it's really great. And that's made quite close to here. Or actually, yeah. Anyway,
I do have a secret, not secret at all. I have a penchant for Trussart guitars.
right.
Never actually owned one, but one day.
Well, next time I'm with James Trussart, I'll take out the TPS credit card and return the favour.
Yeah, so that's what it is, Dwayne and others. Vibas Patil. Hi Vibas. He says there's a new Mike Landau signature distortion on the way from Vemiram. Yes, I saw that. Mick, I guess that means we'll finally see you use an SD9 type pedal on your board. In all seriousness, would love for you to do a comparison of that and the SH9.
Does that mean that Mike Landau might actually have a reason to come on the show?
That would be end of days for me, Landau on the show. Now he gets some sounds out of the Jazzmaster, my God. Right. This is the pedal about which we speak. Sadly not the Vemiram one, but this is a Maxon SD9 Sonic Distortion.
Yeah, and he loves that thing. I've never been able to make them work.
No.
But
This is even an Analog Man modded one, so it should work. But every time we plug it in, we're like, don't get it.
no.
And then who were we talking to the other day who's got one and absolutely loves it? Who was that? Can't remember. Anyway, so yeah, maybe it's time for a reappraisal. I'm assuming that the Vemiram one is something different than just an SD9. For those of you who don't know who Michael Landau is, he's probably my favourite guitar player, number one.
Yeah.
And then after that, he played on, check out his discography, he's played on insane number of records down the years. Also has a brilliant solo career with loads of great records, and is just a tremendous musician.
Yeah.
And guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But oh man, imagine him coming in here and just blowing our minds with his rock.
Yeah. Or he might not. I was lucky enough to meet him once in London, in Birmingham, and interviewed him. And then went to see him that night playing with James Taylor.
Oh.
And I've told this story before, but there's obviously James Taylor, singer-songwriter, Steve Gadd on drums, Landau on guitar, Jimmy Johnson on bass, and Larry Goldings on keys, plus
Johnny Marr on rhythm.
plus James Taylor's awesome backing singers. And it was just like, it was a sonic. It was like, I you know, as someone who has a lot of words, I don't have any words.
Wow.
It was just music.
Yeah. I've never seen him play.
Oh man.
I've never seen Steve Gadd play.
Oh, I've seen him a few times.
So Steve is my favourite drummer. I've never seen him play.
Well, Larry Goldings is coming over. I wonder if he's in the band or if it's a different band. Don't know, because they all play in each other's bands quite regularly.
Right.
Yeah. Or some of them play in each other's band, should I say. Anyway, so yes, it is exciting, Vibas. But if it's anything like the Vemiram Tube Screamer, which is now 700 quid, then if you can find one, then I'm not sure we'll ever get our hands on one, sadly.
They owe me a favour.
We'll see. If it's reasonably priced, to buy one, but I don't know quite how that will... And when I say reasonably, I mean if it's sort of normally unreasonably priced, we'll buy one. But if it's like 600 quid or something, then probably not.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. But it is exciting. I mean, if Landau's putting his name on it, it must be pretty good.
Yeah.
Michael Kooning says, in your video from last Friday with Simon, there was a headstock on Dan's side that looked a lot like the Miles Kennedy signature PRS. Do you have it? And if so, how do you like it compared to the NF53?
Well,
You can hand it to me if you like, Daniel.
here you go. That one?
No.
Good.
It is indeed the Miles Kennedy signature PRS. So Simon came in, and with him came PRS guitars, and they brought in two Miles Kennedys and two NF53s. With the promise that if we liked it, we could hold on to one for a while. On looks alone, I would have chosen the NF53 that Simon chose, which had a really nice ash grain on it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But we plugged them in and we played them, and we liked the sound of this one the best.
Yeah.
Or, no, we liked the sound of this one the most. We were both expecting the Kennedy to be...
Rockier.
Throaty, rock, too powerful pickups for us. And it was actually the opposite. The NF53 was the throatier, more powerful guitar. This one is the lighter sounding, if that's not a disparaging comment. And it really sounds pretty good. So we just need to find a way of using it on the show, plugging it in anger. It's always hard, you know, when you're in the room and you just play it for 2 minutes. You can't really formulate an opinion.
We're really lucky boys.
But it's got a bit,
Aren't we?
It's got a bit of telly twang to it.
It does. Yeah,
but
it's appropriately PRS.
But it's not really much like a telly at all, is it?
No, you like, you know, heavily inspired by, but it's like Paul's had a go at it. It's great.
But, you know, at the risk of sounding like the desperately ungrateful child that I am, I still don't think it's a looker, I'm sorry to say. There's something about this pickguard arrangement and the scoop that just... Yeah, just a personal opinion.
Yeah. I like it because I like a black guitar. I think the neck's super comfy.
Oh, I mean... Blimey, the playability of the thing.
Yeah.
They always play awesome, don't they?
Yeah.
Neck's lovely. Nice.
Isn't it great?
Good girth on the neck, which I like. Oh, just the merest hint of a V. Merest hint of a little bit of V, so a little bit less shoulder here. And nice depth, so it's super comfy. It's satin finish. You play that all day long.
Yeah.
I need to jack the action up a bit. Action's too low for me, but... Bit of twang, bit of twang to it. So yeah, we'll get going with it. Actually, one thing is, I was wondering about the geometry of the neck, whether they might have put a bit of back on it, but I don't think they have. It's cool. Yeah. So yeah, expect to see that in coming videos. Tell you what is quite nice. Look how thin the finish is.
Yeah.
You can see the grain of the wood.
Yeah, I like that. What's it? I just want to put it up next to a standard tally body because is it bigger? Smaller?
Feels smaller to me. I don't know if it is. Marginally.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I don't know if it is actually. Lower bout is actually bigger. Front bout is actually slightly smaller, which might explain why I'm finding the look of it odd. Plus, I've been looking at this for 50 years.
From the rest.
No, I mean I've been looking at that for 50 years.
Right.
So yeah, pretty groovy. I also think that's too flat. That should have been like that, shouldn't it? Anyway.
Oh, yeah, right, okay. Yeah, sure.
What an ungrateful little boy I am. Yeah. The one that Simon plays in the video looks bang on.
Right.
I think. Looks like the love child of an Ovation Viper and a Telly. The Ovation Viper, Chris Walker. Yes, of course. Of course. Yeah. Gordon Rankin says, I felt all the PRS were a bit too heavy. This one is actually super light. So they obviously vary a bit.
Yeah, it does feel like a departure. Also, the guitars do look fundamentally quite different, don't they?
Even though they are the same.
They're not, though.
They are.
Are they?
Yeah, it's just the finish that's different. I'm sure it's the same body shape.
I think, sorry, the body shape's different, but I thought the layout was... Oh, let me have a look.
I think they're the same, aren't they?
Let's have a look.
I don't know. David Senf says, the guitar player in my band says he's a purist and plays an SG into an AC15. Tried to get him hooked on pedals, but so far no avail. Which pedal would you gift him to get his interest piqued? I'd have to hear him play and decide what it is he likes to play. There's few people who like... If you've got a basic rock sound, like a simple guitar into an amp cranked, there's few people who won't go gaga over a short delay or a short reverb.
So the standard NF1, the pickups are parallel.
Oh, I see. Oh,
Yeah.
and you're right. And the control layout is different.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is. I do prefer that as a visual solution.
Yeah. Let's see if you can see this.
Yeah, I hadn't picked up on that. It won't focus that close.
There you go. Oh, it's too bright. Anyway, there you go. Oh, coordination's out of control.
David Burke, you're telling us all of this as we're discovering it for ourselves. Thank you, David. Yeah. Right, moving on. Elias Blum. Hello, Elias.
Hello,
I need
Elias.
recommendations for your favourite gardens to visit in and around Frome. My wife and I have a trip planned for June, plus shims for bolt-ons, perfectly normal, necessary evil, or a sign of a shoddy guitar. We'll do the last bit. I've never had a shimmed bolt-on guitar. Matt and I from Monty's were talking about it potentially for my 61 Strat because I couldn't get the action high enough. But we've since sorted that out with a bit of neck relief and some other things. Yeah, I think it's, well, what, necessary evil? Got to be, hasn't it? I've never done enough with them to really understand it. So have you? No, probably a question for a guitar repairer. That, sorry, we can't be more enlightening. Gardens to visit in and around Frome. Okay, you need to go. The best garden in and around Frome is probably a place called the Newt.
The Newt.
the Newt in Somerset, and it's kind of not far from Frome. Bought by some South African dude who's incredibly wealthy, and they spent millions and millions and millions and millions on redeveloping this place, which is, whether you're into flowers, whether you're into vegetables, whether you're into trees and topiary, whether you're into whatever kind of gardening you're into, it is utterly spectacular. It is far out. Longleat also has some nice gardens, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also nearby. So start with the Newt and Longleat and go from there.
Longleat's amazing, actually.
Yeah, there's a place called Bruton, a town that's near here, which also has a place called Houser and Worth, which I think also has some nice gardens. And there is actually a place near Sept and Mallet, which we affectionately refer to as Shit and Smell It, which also has a lovely garden, and that's only about 12 miles away.
That's very good.
Yeah, I forget the name of that garden, but it's spectacular. Some friends had a wedding party there once. Yeah, there you go. There's three suggestions for you. And presumably, if you're coming here for June, that might mean you're coming for an experience day, does it? Hopefully you are, and I'm sorry if you're not. I don't have the list, so I don't know. Anyway. Nice one, Elias. We did meet at NAMM, I remember that. Chris Walker, one question, chaps. When I use my pedal board and turn the guitar down, I get mains hum. Turning the volume back up a tiny bit, the hum goes away. Any ideas?
When you use your pedal board and you turn the guitar down, you get mains hum. You turn up the... Okay, so...
I get that on my fuzz pedal when I turn it to
yeah,
zero.
and that's an impedance thing. So it depends... Somewhere in your channel, I don't know what you're plugged into first. It's got to do with, okay, with your pot, right? The positions of least amount of impedance from the pot is at the extreme settings, so all the way down and all the way off. In the middle you have the most impedance because you've got all the resist on either side. When you turn your volume all the way down, even though you are effectively, I guess it depends on the guitar, but if you're effectively grounding the input, but when you turn up the volume, you're adding that tiny bit more impedance, and then depending on, because yeah, that it happens a lot with fuzz pedals. So I don't know what's on your pedal board that would cause it to do that, but it's an impedance thing. Like if you put on a standard Boss pedal that has a really high input impedance, and that's your buffer at the front, then that won't happen. But if you've got like a fuzz pedal that's got a really low input impedance, and then when you turn the volume down, you're actually getting, it's like a reverse thing. Explaining impedance is actually really tricky. You'll find a point on the pot where you actually match the input impedance of the fuzz pedal, and that's where it sort of goes fine. But when you turn it down, it sort of goes too far the other way, and you get yeah, it does happen. I'm sure Gordon Rankin's on, he can probably explain a lot better than I can, but it generally happens when you've got your input impedance is too low somewhere in the chain.
Is it a 2 pickup Gibson, and are you in the middle position? If so, on a 2 pickup Gibson that's 50s wired, or it might not have to be 50s wired for that matter, when the 2 pickups are full up in the mid position, you are hum cancelling. If you change the relationship of one of those pickups, it can become less hum cancelling. Right.
So Chris Walker has said, thanks, Dan. The first in the chain is a Vox Wah. Okay. Take the Vox Wah off and plug it into the next pedal and see if you still get the same problem, and I bet you don't.
Tell me what guitar it is and what pickup selection it is. Yes, groovy. Okay. Ziad ZD says, I'm looking to go wet dry by adding a Fender amp to my Vox AC15.
Come on.
Hesitating between a Blues Junior, a Deluxe Reverb, or a Princeton. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, it's a very personal thing. Deluxe Reverb every day of the week for me. That,
for me too, if you play at any sort of appreciable volume.
yeah, that combination is, and we've done it quite a bit. The AC15 and the Deluxe are far out, man.
Yeah.
Every time it is hair on end, chills, awesome sounding thing.
If you play very quietly, I would say Princeton. It just gets going a bit earlier than the Deluxe Reverb.
But Princeton only if it's a 12-inch.
I'd be happy with the 10. Dan has a phase issue with 10s and 12s.
Yeah.
I think if you play at lower volume, I don't think that's a big deal. The Princeton just gets going a bit quicker than the Deluxe Reverb. Our Deluxe Reverb doesn't really get going until about 6, and that's just loud. Whereas the Princeton does get going much earlier, puts out more bass at low volume as well, and has an addictive reverb and tremolo that's completely brilliant. So lower volumes, I'd go Princeton. If you want a bit more headroom and to play at sort of louder band levels, then definitely the Deluxe Reverb. Blues Junior is a good shout if you want to save a bit of cash, because you can pick them up for half the cost of the other two amps, and could work really well. It wouldn't be our first choice, but certainly would work brilliantly well, and you save a load of money. Again, volume-wise, somewhere between the two, I would say. You'd probably get more headroom out of a Blues Junior than you would out of a Princeton, but not as much as a Deluxe Reverb. Yeah, good luck. Mike 2203. Oh, bloody hell, Mike. We'll be here all day if we answer this. He says, hi, guys. I got my first SG in about 73. It was a budget one made by Antoria. How do companies just get to copy a Gibson or a Fender? Do you know what the loophole is that permits this? Just curious. Well, Antoria is a good case in point, because at that time in the 70s, there are a load of famous guitars by those bunch of Japanese guitar brands, most famously Ibanez, who copied Gibsons and got sued for it. The problem with Gibson and Fender is they didn't suitably establish and protect their trademarks early enough in order that they may be defended later on. So there's been a lot of high profile cases over the years. The most famous one is the lawsuit of the 70s with Ibanez, and it was interesting because it sparked a change in direction for Ibanez. If you looked at an Ibanez catalogue of the period, it was full of guitars that looked exactly like Gibsons. 175s, Vs, etc., etc., etc. I
had an acoustic from that era as well. That was basically a Martin.
Hummingbirds, Doves, all of that stuff. And that was the thing, that was the market. But then the lawsuit happened. Can't remember what the outcome was, but anyway, the specific outcome, I mean. Ibanez then go off in this completely other direction and become the modern guitar company that we know today. So it's never been legal as such, but it's very expensive to protect a trademark. And as Gibson and Fender have both found out to their cost down the years, having not adequately defended certain of their trademarks in the past makes it very hard to defend them in the future. High profile cases include PRS, which they eventually lost, and many others. So both Gibson and Fender have subsequently tried to re-trademark various aspects of their design. I think the only one Fender's been continually successful at, and Gibson for that matter, is the headstock shape. So if you use the Fender headstock shape, they'll require that you don't do that. I believe they tried to trademark the body shapes as well, which would seem fair, but they were denied that. So every company and their grandfather makes Fender alikes.
Just playing some mood music too.
Yeah, I like it.
You like that?
It's a really deep and long story. People get very het up about it. One section of the world thinks, well, why shouldn't you be allowed to copy guitars? And the other half of the world thinks, well, no, it's not really right. It's their design. You shouldn't do it. But the other argument is, and it's a very good argument, the fact that they have been copied so much down the years is what kept them alive. because it made the
Yeah,
original
wow.
thing much more desirable. And there's merit in that argument too.
That's really, I had not thought about
If
that.
nobody bothered to copy the Strat in the 70s when Fender was disappearing up its own butthole and eventually about to go out of business in the early mid 80s, would it even still exist if there weren't loads of people copying those guitars and keeping them
Were
alive?
Fender in trouble in the?
Oh yeah, man, when they got bought out in 83, 84, 85, whenever it was, they were on their knees, yeah.
Really?
Absolutely on their knees, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then they bought out the HM Strat and solved all the problems.
Well, that was part of the recovery for sure. Yeah, CBS sold it to a bunch of people, including Bill Schultz, who was famously sort of rebirth Fender, and Dan Smith came from Yamaha. Well, they both came from Yamaha, and they were instrumental in rebuilding the company. Not dissimilar, in fact, to when Henry and Dave Berryman, I think his name was, or certainly Henry Juskovitz anyway, came and scooped Gibson out of its CMI days.
Right.
So, you know, and then, well, read the recent news about Fender.
I guess the thing you need to remember about those companies, they're all started, they're like all companies do, they start small and have a thing, but they turn into these absolutely behemoths.
Yeah.
And in an industry that is so, I won't say fashionable, but it's so led by trends, you know, and so many people thought it was a fad.
Well, they thought I was explaining in the car on the way back yesterday the story of this guitar. You know, the Jazzmaster and the Jaguar were, I don't know about thought of as replacements. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but they were designed to supersede the Strat. You know, be better, move on from it.
Really?
And appeal to serious guitar players, which the Strat and the Telly never managed to do in the early days. You know, serious guitar players all played archtops and hollowbodies and, you know, fine guitars like Gibson's. How ironic that they've come to be loved by the alt crowd.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. But Dan's right. You know, it was never when Leo rolled the broadcaster or whatever it was off the line in 1950. I don't think anyone could have imagined it would still be among the most desirable guitars. Not just the most desirable, but the most fit for purpose electric guitars used in commercial music to this day.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever could have imagined that.
No.
You compare a car from that period, or a sewing machine, or any other bit of technology, a cooker, there are few examples of things that have just stayed right.
Yeah.
You know, obviously there are other musical instruments, piano, violin, etc. But yeah, it is a remarkable story. It is a remarkable story. How do we get onto that? Yeah, so that's it. Mike, it's David Burke points out that actually Gibson have subsequently trademarked quite a few things, including body shapes, and as we know from Gibson, defend them with vehemence, which a lot of people again get very sniffy about. But I'm just going to say this: imagine you design something and somebody copies it.
Imagine that.
You're just going to let them get away with it? Yeah, imagine that, Dan. Useless Toil. Thank you for your super chat, but there's no question, and I'm really sorry if we've missed it. Yeah, no question. So apologies if we've missed it, and if we have, we'll pick it up next week. But thank you for your super chat, Useless Toil. And Joe Halliday is last in today again. Joe, thank you for your continued generosity, mate. He says, whoops, I almost missed it. Happy 360th day around the sun.
Thank you, buddy.
At least you're not as old as you will be next year.
There's always that. There's always that.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Scott Lennon says, I'm living vicariously through you guys. My index finger had a run-in with a drill bit. It went clean through, so I haven't been able to play for a few weeks.
Oh, mate.
I'm healing well, though. Well, I'm glad you're healing well, Scott. Get well soon, mate. And, yeah. Sorry to hear that. But always, those stories make me tingle in a really bad way. But yeah, we're glad to hear you're healing well.
Wasn't the Jazzmaster designed to suit jazz players who were sitting down mainly of the era, says Thomas Barran. Yeah, it was certainly aimed at jazz players. It was, designed to have, hilariously designed to have a jazzier tone. Hence the mud circuit, I guess.
This is amazing.
Casey Cole 4001 says, one's opinion doesn't matter, it's law, end of. Yeah, it's law if you can afford to defend it. I know somebody sitting very close to me who can't necessarily afford to defend all the copies of his products. Because you might have patents, but if you've got no money to defend them, you're screwed. So it's not opinion, it's law, ergo it's cash. So the more richer you are, the more you can defend the law. So it is law, but it's also cash, unfortunately. The law isn't arbitrarily... the law is very biased towards anyone who's got loads of cash, unfortunately.
I absolutely love this.
Yeah, was it Dan's birthday, says Matthew Collis Long? It was, Matthew. Nice to hear from you, buddy. I think we're going to be seeing you again. He says, happy birthday, Daniel.
Thank you, mate. Yeah,
nice.
I've had the best birthday, and I mean, this has just absolutely capped it off.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate. This is amazing.
Other people are saying, what's going on with Fender? Anyone know what he's alluding to? It was a story reported widely that basically tons and tons and tons, like millions and millions of dollars worth of orders cancelled or revoked. Now, whether that's true or whether it's a little bit of what we will call the availability heuristic, which is somebody's picked up on it and it's got repeated. What we don't know about that is it might happen every year, or it might have happened 3 years ago. So all that notwithstanding, yeah, there was some reports about Fender facing a financial hole again.
Okay.
The report said Fender is facing a financial hole. The reality behind the story, I can't comment on.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You know, they've got a new showroom.
Yes.
And a lovely young chap has been in touch and said, invite us to come down and hang out. I think it's in Covent Garden.
Yes, it is. Yeah. That would be really great.
I was actually in Covent Garden on the weekend. I was showing the kids my first ever gig in London.
Nice.
Yep, which was in Covent Garden.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great
I used to
fun.
get drunk a lot in Covent Garden. It was brilliant.
It's a great place to get hammered.
Yeah, I don't know if it still is.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All the street performers and everything, and they're amazing.
Actually, Tom Wordsworth says a lot of civil law is based on judges' opinion and the law's wording. So even if you can afford it, you're at the mercy of opinion. I had a fascinating bit of research about judges, right? Parole judges. This book I'm reading. We'll leave this topic in a minute. In fact, we'll leave this whole thing in a minute because it's time to go home. They analysed the results of parole judges, and parole judges were spending an average of 6 to 7 minutes on a parole hearing, which is completely normal, so they do loads in a day. They charted in the results, and I'm saying this as having been told it through the pages of a book. So this is not something I've independently verified. I would just like to state it has been written down in a book which I am currently reading. The link between energy and brain power is right there. Your brain uses a huge amount of energy, and it also consumes a lot of glucose, or it requires glucose. And when your glucose levels go down, that thing we talked about earlier about your secondary system B, system 2, being lazy, and looking for an easier option, starts to happen when you're not adequately hydrated and fed.
Sure.
So they looked at the results of these judges' parole hearings. Guess what? Granted paroles go up immediately after eating and are lowest immediately before their meal breaks.
No.
According to the book.
Wow.
And I'm going to say again, according to the book. So there you go. That would be some, I don't know what you would call that, a nutritional heuristic.
I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, we are at the mercy of all of that. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Good. Any type 1 diabetic can tell you about that, says Whit Anderson. There we go, there we go. So, yeah, once again, we step into areas we really don't understand and probably talk a load of crap. Good. Thank you for being with us.
Indeed. Sorry, I've been very annoying throughout this whole thing, but I cannot stop playing this. I absolutely love it.
Hooray. I'd call that a result.
Like, the neck is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Cool, man. Good. Well, hopefully we'll hear it a lot on the show. For those of you who joined late, didn't get it at the beginning, this is a Johnny Marr signature Jaguar that we've managed to acquire. We did a deal for our old Jaguar with a very nice guy called Charlie from Devon. More about him in other shows. Because we've been to Johnny Marr, we've done the show, Dan played a bunch of Johnny's guitars and was completely taken by them. So the next move was obvious. Cool. Thanks for being with us. This coming Friday's show is probably going to be Daniel's vlog with David Kilminster from the Roger Waters tour.
Yeah.
It's most likely to be that. The following week is going to be Stephen Wilson. And the week after that will be Johnny Marr. We think.
Come on.
We think. The Johnny show might get held for a couple of weeks if we've got to clear some copyright and some other things. But currently that's how it's shaping up.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't hold your breath for Johnny. Yeah. Who gave Dan the new guitar, says Neon Thunderbird. We gave it to ourselves. It was...
Well, Mick... No, hang on. Mick found the guitar. Mick drove down yesterday. 2.5 hours to get there. 6.5 hours to get back. And I had no idea. And then he pulled it out for me at the start of the show. And I'm very emotional. It's so lovely.
Yeah. It's a groovy thing. Thomas Stonehewer says all original 65 Jags are about 5k. Yeah. I played a really, really lovely 62, one of the first ones, just recently and loved it. But the point about this one is Johnny's done all the things to it that you would want to do unless you were really into all those original features. So like Mustang type bridge, pickup selector that makes sense, and some usable tone options instead of the mud circuit. Now, I know that's a lot of Jag owners and lovers will go, oh, you just don't understand them. True, we do understand this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be good. I can't wait for you to plug it in and get some tones going. Right, I keep saying thanks and good night. So schedule your parole hearings immediately after lunch. Haha. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that good lawyers would know all of that kind of thing. Groovy. Right. Thank you, everyone. See you Friday, and then ongoing. We're getting into silly season now, so there will be lots of activity. I'm always happier in the autumn and winter. Suits me. Dan less so. Play us out with a new guitar, Dan.